Then, hello, book lovers, and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Harris, and today I'm talking to author Beverley Latimer. Beverley is the author of two novels, Hannah and Esther's Journey, with a third just published titled The Winemaker's Son. Saffron and Marcus are in the prime of their youth. Married for just over 3 years, Marcus still wants to focus on his career and travel the world with his wife. So when Saffron announces her unexpected pregnancy, Marcus is shocked and furious. He tries to insist that Saffron should have the pregnancy terminated. Saffron is left shocked and upset, knowing she must choose between him and their baby. A heartbreaking tragedy results in Saffron travelling to France, where she meets Frenchman Raphael. Saffron senses that Raphael has suffered a trauma of his own, but will he reveal to her his own story that is far more tragic than her own? Can these two strangers who have seemingly been brought together by chance bring each other some comfort, or will their respective pasts be too much for them to handle? Sounds good, Beverley. Let's find out some more. So welcome anyway, and thank you for coming back to talk to me on Book Talk Radio Club.
Thank you for having me.
So here we have Saffron and Marcus, married for just over 3 years and in the prime of their youth. Lucky things. Tell me about Saffron and Marcus's characters. We know Marcus still wants to focus on his career and travel the world with his wife, but when Saffron announces her unexpected pregnancy, Marcus is shocked and furious. Why the overreaction, and how does Saffron deal with it?
Marcus is someone that likes to have things his way, done his way. And without Saffron actually realising it, he is quite a controlling character and often manages to get Saffron to see things his way and do things his way. And she's so wrapped up and so in love with him that she doesn't really realise that she's actually being controlled. And with the unexpected pregnancy, it's something that Marcus definitely doesn't want at this particular time. He likes the niceties in life. He likes expensive cars, expensive restaurants, and expensive holidays. And is not really ready to share Saffron with anybody, not even their own child. Saffron herself, she's quite a sweet-natured girl, really. They're both from a middle-class background and they live in a very nice area. And she's quite happy with her life, really, until this problem occurs and she has to, for the first time in their marriage, stand her ground with Marcus.
See him for what he is.
Yeah.
So a heartbreaking tragedy results in Saffron travelling to France, where she meets Frenchman Raphael. Saffron senses that Raphael has suffered a trauma of his own. Tell us a little about Raphael, without spoiling the story, of course.
Yeah, Raphael is a really nice person, actually. He's kind-hearted, he's gentle-natured, but he's suffered a huge traumatic experience that has really rocked his entire world and left him reeling to the point where he's barely even able to function. In fact, when Saffron first meets Raphael, she thinks that he's a down and out. And she does feel very, very sorry for him and treats him as if he's somebody that, is really in need of her help and her support. But Raphael isn't a down and out. And as you get further along in the book, it becomes very apparent as to why he's in the state that he's in, and he's obviously not coping very well with the trauma he's experienced.
At the end of the book blurb, you ask, can these two strangers who have seemingly been brought together by chance bring each other some comfort, or will their respective pasts be too much for them to handle? I'm not going to give away the ending, of course, but isn't it amazing how, when we think our lives are taking one path and everything appears to be set for life, along comes a fork in the road and our lives take a different turn altogether? What's the inspiration for you for writing this story, Beverley?
Well, as you know from my other chats, Claire, my first two books were really about real things, like domestic violence that Hannah was about, a girl living with and surviving domestic violence. So that's a really real experience for a lot of women, even today. In fact, it's on the increase, I believe. And then my second book, that was really sort of focused on the Holocaust
Mm,
and what happened to the Jews and other minority groups in Nazi Germany. So they were really real issues. So this time I wanted to write something that was pure fiction, something that I'd made up completely, out of my own imagination.
mm,
And I love the town of Harrogate, and I really love the alpine town of Annecy, which is it's in France, just over the Swiss border. So
mm.
I decided to write a story that sort of like it started in Harrogate, it finishes in France. But as is the case with all my books, there is a message in the book, quite a profound message. And the message is there is that grief and depression can leave a person totally debilitated.
Mm.
And the other message that it gets across is that with the right kind of help and the right kind of support, a person can make a full recovery. So that comes across in the book.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. The acknowledgement at the front of the winemaker's son reads, "A huge thank you to my sister, Tracy Gerard, who, through her love of writing, inspired me to write my first novel, Hannah, a book that I've been wanting to write for many years." Let's talk about Hannah now. So, Beverly, would you like to give us a brief synopsis of the story?
Yeah, as I've just mentioned, the book really it's actually based on my own story, my real life story. Obviously, I've written it as a piece of fiction, names of places and the names of people, have all been changed, and the characters are really fictitious characters. But it does deal with a girl who finds herself in a situation where she's regularly beaten and abused in just about every way that you can possibly think of by her husband, who she believed before she married him was in love with her, and she finds out really that he wasn't. And it's about how she survives, and it's then how she manages to escape, but then how she goes on to make a success of her life in the future. And the message is that, there is life after domestic violence.
Definitely, definitely. So, was that the reason why you wrote it? To tell other people or who have gone through that or are going through
Yeah,
that there is life after?
yeah, I really wanted to get that message across, and because I'd experienced it, and
Mm,
I thought, if just one person who's going through it themselves reads that book and is inspired
yeah.
to do something about it, then I feel that the book would have done its job.
Good for you. Absolutely. So let's talk now about your second novel, Esther's Journey. Isaac and Esther Barrett, a young, beautiful, and talented couple, are living in the south of France when World War II begins. They have everything to live for: fame, a loving marriage, a beautiful home, and two young children. But as Jews, Isaac and Esther are targeted, and their fame and money cannot save them. In an attempt to try and save the lives of their young children, they are smuggled out of France and kept hidden until the war is over. Isaac and Esther are captured as they attempt to flee to a hiding place deep in the French countryside. They are both transported to separate extermination camps in Poland within days of their arrest, and 2.5 years later, Esther is liberated by the Russian army. But what of her husband? Not knowing if Isaac has survived or not, Esther's journey continues with the hope that she and Isaac will find their way back to each other and the children they have not seen for over 2 years. It's the most amazing story. Um, and obviously, this has happened to so many families. Had happened to so many
Mm.
families. But what inspired you to write Esther's journey?
I've always had a deep sympathy for what happened to people back there in Nazi Germany. Not just the Jews, other minority groups as
Sure.
well, as I've mentioned. But I decided to visit Auschwitz just after its 75th anniversary of its liberation. And there was a big blown up picture on the wall in one of the buildings that we went in there. And it was a picture of terrified women and children.
Mm,
And we were told by our tour guide that those women and children would have been gassed
mm.
within 2 hours of arriving in Auschwitz.
Oh, God, it makes you go cold inside.
Yeah, yeah. And that photograph stayed with me for all day. It stayed with me, and the day after. And I just thought, if I can just write something, it's just one tiny little thing
Mm,
that might go towards keeping the memory of these people alive. Because those that were children in the camps that survived, they're all, really, really elderly now,
mm.
and once the last of them die off, there's always that danger that it might be pushed into the past and forgotten about, and it should never be forgotten. It was just too terrible for it to ever be forgotten. We should all remember it every year. This year, when it was Holocaust Memorial Day, I put several things on Facebook and Instagram because it is an important issue to me.
Apart from the emotional side of the story, there were, of course, the horrifying facts of what the Nazis did to the Jews, as well as homosexuals, gypsies, and many other people that didn't fit in with their Aryan ideal. How much
Mm.
research did you carry out prior to writing the book? And did you find it hard to read the accounts of the survivors of the extermination camps?
I, I did do quite a lot of research. I looked at both Auschwitz and Treblinka because those two camps are mentioned in the book. Isaac ends up in Treblinka, Esther ends up in Auschwitz. So I did a lot of research regarding those two camps. And I then watched and listened to interviews of survivors. And it's not nice listening to what they went through. But it did give me all the information that I needed to put a good story together because I
Mm.
wanted it to be historically correct. I didn't want to make any mistakes because I felt that wouldn't have been wouldn't have done justice to the people that suffered in those camps.
Let's talk a little about you now, Beverley Latimer. You grew up in the city of Leeds in West Yorkshire and now live in a small rural village in North Yorkshire with your husband. You love nature and wide open spaces and can often be found walking on the North Yorkshire moors. So, where is Beverley's writing place?
I write at home, usually, in this room where I'm sitting now in front of my computer. Um, yeah, that's where I write in my bedroom.
But do you find that when you go out for walks, you the ideas come to you, then you come back and write them? Is that how it works for you?
Often, yeah, yeah. If I'm in the process of writing a book, quite often when I'm out walking, I'll be sort of chewing it over in my mind and
Mm.
thinking about different scenes and how I can improve them or what I can write next.
I understand you spent your career caring for others. In what capacity, may I ask?
Obviously, I looked after my own children. I brought a family; they're all grown up now. Um, then, as a nursery nurse, working on a neonatal unit, caring for sick and premature babies, as well as drug withdrawing babies, heroin addicts, babies of heroin addicts and crack addicts. I did that for several years, and then I wanted a change, so I then went into support work.
Mm.
And at the moment, I support a lady that was in a horrific car crash, not her fault, and she's paralyzed basically. So I work for her, but worked for her for a number of years now.
You believe in equality for all and hate any kind of just injustice. You are particularly passionate about the rights of women and children and their right to live a life free of abuse. So I'm assuming, I was going to say, where does this passion come from? I'm assuming it comes from your own experience.
Yes, yes, it does mainly, I suppose, but also from being a nursery nurse and knowing what goes on in some families, the way that some children are treated.
Mm.
Um, I'm very passionate about the rights of children in particular. I think that the government doesn't do enough to protect children. We hear the horror stories, don't we, all the time on the news of children
Mm.
being murdered in their own homes, often by their own parents
Yeah.
or a step parent or some other caregiver. I just think the government should be doing much, much more than they are doing.
You're already receiving some wonderful reviews for The Winemaker's Son, including Brilliant, charming, and beautifully told. A must for the winter when the cold nights have marched in and you long for the sunshine to pour over you again. Let's go to the vineyards of France. In fact, this is a book that's just perfect for any time of year. A must read. That's just fantastic, Beverly. It really is such a good review. So, but what's next on the writing front for you?
I have a book at the moment that's going through the publishing process. It's called The Child at the Window.
Oh,
And that again is about a very serious subject. Again, based on an actual true story, but being made into a piece of fiction. And that hopefully should be out in the autumn of this year.
that's a really good title. Sounds intriguing. I'm looking forward to interviewing you about that. So, lastly, Beverly, where can people purchase The Winemaker's Son and, of course, Esther's Journey and Hannah?
Um, they're, they're available from Amazon, but they're also available on other booksellers' websites, excuse me, such as Pegasus. Um, I can't think of the name. I'm just thinking of the name. I've just recently done a book signing event, Waterstones. I couldn't think
Right.
of the name then. Waterstones, W.H. Smith. The books are available on their websites.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you, Beverly. That was great. Good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Have a good evening, Beverly.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.